to introduce the session of African Green Federation to present the joy we have after 25 years of Global Greens, of the journey together. We will have a presentation by three people. First of all, Honorable Didas Pembe. Didas Pembe is our Congolese Green. He's Pembe Didas has been a great leader. He's currently the national president of the Ecological Political Party in the Congo Democratic Republic of Congo, the biggest country in Africa. And he has represented Africa within international green political coordination platforms. We will also, our Didas has been elected 3 times.
Hello, Anne-Marie, you're on mute. We can't hear you speaking.
Okay, then Anne-Marie, are you there? Okay, then I'll take it. Hello.
Hello.
Sorry. Yes, who is speaking? This is Pembe, please.
Yes, it's Miss Pembe.
Kindly take the floor, and the floor is yours. You can do your presentation.
As we start having technical problems. I think I've been disconnected. But now you hear me, and we have our presenters. If Didas Pembe is hearing me, do you hear me, President Didas? Tu m'entends, Président Didas? Ok. Moi-même qui présente l'équipe, je m'appelle Anne-Marie Bihirabake. Je suis la vice-présidente de la Fédération africaine des Verts. J'ai vu qu'on a un problème de gestion de temps. Sans tarder, je voudrais passer la parole à ceux qui vont faire des présentations. Si Didas ne m'entend pas, if Didas is not hearing me, I can start with Sharon, who is around. Sharon, do you hear me?
Yes, Anne-Marie, I hear you.
Yes. To save time, you can start, and then we'll check with Didas, but he should be also around. Thank you. Over to you.
We can't hear you, Anne-Marie, but meanwhile, can we have Pembe take the floor, please?
You don't hear me?
Honorable Pembe.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Anne-Marie, we can hear you, and
seem to be having some connection problems. So I'll introduce Sharon. So Sharon, you can take the floor, and then after that you have Dr. Frank. Sharon, just go, and then Pembe will come after you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lucy.
Sharon.
So thank you, Lucy. Can someone please share my slide, my presentation? Okay, thank you. So thank you for this opportunity, Lucy. Thank you, the organizers, and for this celebration, this 25th celebration. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you well, Sharon.
Okay, my internet always has issues, so I'll put a video briefly and then I'll disconnect so that I can get some reasonable network here. So I'm called Sharon Katura, and I'm from Kampala, Uganda, Ecological Party of Uganda, and I'm the Executive Director of East African Greens Federation. So I'm going to be looking at presenting on a 25-year journey of courage and possibility for the women, for the Greens in Africa. So as we celebrate and commemorate this day today, we look at it as a milestone and as an honor to the movement that for the 25 years has shaped the world, the people, the planet, pushing for justice and having shared commitments, realizing our shared commitments as the Green family. So from a Green African woman's perspective, the 25 years of Global Greens is not just viewed as history, but rather as courage, as the persistence that we've taken through the time and the steadfast refusal to accept exploitation. We've tried to work towards nurturing people, nurturing our environment, conserving the climate, and growing in politics as women, as we contribute towards the global, the way we would love to see the global shaped. So basically, at a glance, I would say that in Africa, the Green movement has a growing continental presence with countries in Southern, Eastern, Western, and Northern Africa. We have an active Green membership base of over 5,000 registered people. This data may not be exactly showing actually what's taking place on the ground, because as we go forth in my presentation, we realize that we are not capturing what we do. We are not documenting. So this may not exactly give us the actual picture on the ground. But there's also an expanding digital and media footprint. The Green movement has contributed to national and regional policy dialogues on climate justice, environmental protection, inclusive governance, and there has also been a growing grassroots impact and community action, whereby we've seen that the community-based initiatives like tree planting, like restoration initiatives of wetlands, like climate resilience projects, gender equality, are mostly being led by Green actors. In our different countries, for instance, Somalia, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda. So the Green movement in Africa has taken root, and we're thankful for this as we head forward. So looking at the women driving the Green movement, and mainly based on the Green principles, to look at how women have been driving the Green movement forward in Africa. So we see that women have been at the forefront of environmental stewardship. They've been leading in climate action. They've been advancing ecological wisdom through traditional knowledge, as well as the modern advocacy. We find that women's leadership has contributed to restoration efforts, biodiversity protection, climate awareness. We have examples like the Wangari Maathai with the Green Belts movement. So we find that, and then though this has been marred by some limitations, for example, the underrepresentation of women in high-level environmental decision-making, as well as the limited finances most of the women in politics have faced in Africa as they try to compete favorably with their counterparts, the male. So we've also seen women advancing equity, where they've been central in advancing social justice within the Green movement, where they've been pushing for inclusion, where they've been advocating for equitable access to resources, which wasn't something there in the past in most of our African communities. Here we have an example of one Ugandan lady, Vanessa Nakate, who has been amplifying African voices in the global climate justice debates. So we also see that women have been trying to fight for a place in claiming political space. They've been engaging in participatory democracy. They've been participating in leadership. Parties like we have the Green Congress of Kenya, for example, with Lucy here, who is our secretary. And so women in politics are increasingly engaging in democratic processes and advancing for transparency, accountability, and inclusive governance. And we've also seen women engage in being peace builders. We've seen women playing a critical role in conflict resolution, both from the local levels, from the communities, up into even the army ranks in the different countries, in politics, in parliament. We've seen women grow to be peacekeepers and gatekeepers of peace in their communities. And also we've seen women driving, sustaining our diversity, women championing inclusion, women being instrumental in promoting inclusive approaches that respect the cultural, social, and economic diversity, while ensuring that no one is left behind. We also, however, find that among the limitations that they are facing, there's been persistent discrimination against the marginalized women, cultural, structural barriers which hinder women full participation, whether they're running for seats in politics, doing campaigns, economic struggle barriers. Women don't own property, they don't. So there's been a lot of limitations women are facing, though we are trying to go over the hurdle. And then as we move, as we grow into the green movement and keep learning and seeing what's happening in other places, it's steadfast. The changes is being steadfast. So we got slide 5. So why women in greens? So basically women in greens have acted as environmental stewards. Women have been custodians of forests, land, and seeds. Women play a central role in preserving biodiversity, in managing natural resources, safeguarding indigenous seed systems. It's the women that have championed the indigenous knowledge, passing it on from generation to generation. The women have led climate smart agriculture. They use traditional systems to ensure that food security is there. And they've also lived an experience with their daily practices, for example, of water collection, of food production, of household energy use. This has positioned women at the forefront of sustaining the environment, of having a sustainable living in our changing world. So women also are drivers of community resilience. Women organize and lead adaptation strategies, including savings groups, climate resilience initiatives, and disaster response efforts in their local communities. So lastly, we look at the intergenerational knowledge transfer, where women pass on this knowledge, where they train fellow women, where they train their daughters and granddaughters, and women being the homekeepers, being the ones who till the land, being the ones who champion all this. They've managed to pass on the practices that have preserved, and in their local communities keep trying to preserve their livelihoods. So, but while they are being the environmental safeguards, they are also in a way becoming victims of inequality and climate change. So they are affected negatively. For example, where we find that women have the most high vulnerability to environmental shocks. Let's say like climate change, when climate change intensifies like existing inequalities, then women exposure to floods, to droughts, and food insecurity increases. And then there's also limited access to resources and land ownership, whereby structural barriers have restricted women control over land, finance, productive assets needed for them to live and to live a resilient life. And in addition, women have also been underrepresented in political and decision-making spaces because women, it's difficult for them to get into those spaces in most of the African countries. For example, here in my country, Uganda, women lack the resources, women lack the time to network, they lack the opportunities which all their counterparts have. So they end up being underrepresented in these political and decision-making spaces. And then also, in some cases, the environmental degradation has intensified responsibilities of the unpaid care burden, where they have to collect water from very far distance. They have to go and look for firewood, which is not available. So all this reduces the time for leadership, for education, for growth, and etc. And lastly, on this, women have also become more exposed to gender-based violence in crisis context. There has been climate-induced displacements in many places, and the resource scarcity heightens the risk of violence and exploitation, because once a home has no food, once a home is not cared for, then and given that we live in a patriarchal society, the men end up putting the frustration and anger on the women, and we end up having domestic violence increasing from when it used to be. So slide 7. So over the 25 years, what have we learned? What have we seen? First of all, we've seen that the green movement has driven change on the ground. There has been a rich impact. Climate, environment, leadership, economic, there has been a great impact. But unfortunately, this impact remains unrecorded and invisible. We don't really have anything. Mostly, if I refer like my country, Uganda, we'll find that you'll not easily find this documented somewhere that the Green Party did this, contributed to this, and the person reached here because of the Green Party's involvement. So there's a lot of impact, but we're not documenting it. It's unrecorded and invisible. And also, we've seen that the ideology is spreading faster than we can track. Green principles are influencing behaviors. There's more tree planting. There is climate awareness and other sustainable practices, but all without consolidated data to show the scale. And then also there has been policy influence, which unfortunately also lacks clear attribution. That you can't attribute any policy influence to the exact place where it came from. For example, if it's from a green movement background. And also the grassroots action is missing from the global narrative, because the village woman from where I come from, what she does in preserving her environment, what she does in protecting the swamps that would otherwise be tilled, what she does from protecting the forests where they go cutting trees for firewood, doesn't come out. There's no story to tell, there's no story to document, there's no story to tell, and the visibility is basically lacking. Therefore, what I would conclude here is that what we cannot measure, we struggle to amplify, and what we cannot amplify, we risk losing, because finally, there's something we can't measure, we cannot amplify, and finally, it just gets lost through the cracks. So, slide 8, please. So this is the call to action. We therefore call upon all the actors to invest in women's leadership, to reform party structures to be inclusive and transformative, to amplify grassroots voices, to integrate gender in policy and governance frameworks, to build solidarity across movements and generations, and to champion accountability and measurable progress. So that when in a nutshell, that when power is defined and women are placed at the center, families, communities will thrive, and the planet will definitely heal. So thank you. That's what I had for. I had more, but I know the time is not on my side.
Yes.
So I'd love to
Thank
share
you
more.
very much.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, Sharon. Now we call upon Honorable Pembe. Monsieur Pembe,
Oui.
vous avez la parole. C'est à vous le micro.
Ok. Merci. Je tiens d'abord... oui. Je tiens d'abord... vous m'entendez? Est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Ouais.
Oui, oui, oui.
D'accord.
Yes,
Nous
Ok,
vous
we can hear
entendons.
you.
d'accord. Je tiens d'abord
J'espère que la
à
traduction
féliciter.
est là aussi.
Je peux parler?
Ouais, merci.
D'accord. Je disais ceci. Je tiens d'abord à féliciter Global Greens pour ses 25 ans d'âge. Et j'espère de tout cœur que euh, nous allons grandir jusqu'à l'éternité. Et je tiens aussi à féliciter et à remercier Global Greens de m'avoir offert un sujet sur lequel je dois exposer. Mon sujet s'intitule 25 ans d'écologie politique en Afrique. À quoi ça ressemble aujourd'hui? Mesdames, Mesdemoiselles et Messieurs, chers frères et sœurs écologistes, pendant longtemps, l'écologie a été perçue en Afrique comme une préoccupation de pays riches. On disait souvent, l'Europe protège la nature parce qu'elle est déjà développée. L'Afrique, elle, doit d'abord survivre. Mais en réalité, l'Afrique n'a jamais été étrangère à l'écologie. Les sociétés africaines ont toujours entretenu un rapport profond avec la terre, les forêts, l'eau et les animaux. Les traditions rurales, les règles coutumières, les interdits sacrés sur certaines forêts ou rivières constituaient déjà des formes d'écologie. Cependant, l'écologie politique, c'est autre chose. C'est le moment où les questions environnementales deviennent des enjeux de pouvoir, de justice sociale et de choix de développement. Depuis environ 25 ans, cette écologie politique prend progressivement forme sur le continent. La question à laquelle je dois répondre est simple. À quoi ressemble l'écologie politique africaine aujourd'hui? Premièrement, les années 2000, c'est une écologie importée. Au début des années 2000, l'écologie politique en Afrique est encore largement importée. Elle devient principalement des organisations internationales, des ONG environnementales, des conférences internationales sur le climat. On parle surtout de protection de la biodiversité, lutte contre la déforestation, création de parcs naturels, programme de développement durable. Mais cette écologie reste souvent déconnectée des réalités sociales. Par exemple, dans plusieurs pays, la création des parcs naturels a entraîné l'expulsion de communautés locales vivant depuis des générations dans ces territoires. Résultat, l'écologie est parfois perçue comme une contrainte imposée de l'extérieur. On protège les animaux, mais les populations locales ont faim. Cette contradiction marque les débuts de l'écologie africaine. Deuxièmement, les années 2010, l'écologie devient sociale. Dans les années 2010, un tournant apparaît. Les citoyens africains commencent à poser une question fondamentale. Qui paye le prix de la protection de la nature? C'est là que l'écologie devient véritablement politique. Plusieurs combats émergent. Les luttes contre les industries extractives. Dans de nombreux pays riches en ressources naturelles, des populations dénoncent les mines polluantes, l'exploitation pétrolière, la destruction des terres agricoles. Au delta du Niger, par exemple, les communautés dénoncent depuis des décennies les pollutions pétrolières. En Afrique centrale, l'exploitation forestière industrielle menace certaines forêts tropicales parmi les plus importantes du monde. Dans ce contexte, l'écologie devient une lutte pour la dignité et la souveraineté. 2. L'écologie paysanne. Un autre mouvement prend de l'ampleur, l'agroécologie. Des agriculteurs et des ONG font la promotion de techniques agricoles durables, la protection des semences locales, la fertilité naturelle des sols. L'idée est simple, produire sans détruire la terre. Cela devient aussi une réponse au changement climatique. 3. La justice climatique. Une autre dimension apparaît. L'Afrique contribue très peu aux émissions mondiales du CO2, mais elle subit fortement la sécheresse, les inondations et la désertification. Cela donne naissance à une revendication forte, la justice climatique. Les pays africains demandent que les nations les plus polluantes financent davantage l'adaptation climatique. Troisièmement, les années 2020. L'écologie devient stratégique. Aujourd'hui, nous assistons à une nouvelle étape. L'écologie n'est plus seulement un combat citoyen. Elle devient un enjeu stratégique pour les États africains. 3 dynamiques importantes apparaissent. 1. L'énergie verte. L'Afrique possède un immense potentiel. Le solaire, l'hydraulique, l'éolien. Certains pays investissent de plus en plus dans ces ressources et l'objectif est double. Répondre à la crise climatique, résoudre le problème majeur de l'accès à l'électricité. 2. La diplomatie climatique. Les États africains s'organisent davantage dans les négociations internationales sur les climats. Ils cherchent à défendre leurs intérêts. Par exemple, financement climatique, transfert de technologie, développement durable. L'écologie devient alors un levier géopolitique. 3. La jeunesse écologique. Un phénomène nouveau apparaît, la mobilisation des jeunes. Dans plusieurs pays africains, de nouvelles générations d'activistes organisent des campagnes climatiques, plantent des arbres, dénoncent la pollution urbaine. Cette jeunesse transforme progressivement l'écologie en mouvement citoyen continental. En guise de conclusion, après 25 ans, l'écologie politique africaine n'est plus une simple copie du modèle occidental. Elle possède désormais ses propres caractéristiques. Elle est sociale car elle défend les communautés locales. Elle est économique car elle questionne les modèles de développement géopolitique, car elle redéfinit la place de l'Afrique dans la gouvernance mondiale du climat. Mais un défi majeur demeure. L'Afrique doit réussir une équation difficile, se développer rapidement tout en préservant ses écosystèmes. Et c'est peut-être là que se trouve la contribution la plus importante de l'Afrique au monde. Car si le continent réussit cette transition, il pourrait inventer une nouvelle manière d'habiter la Terre. Pendant 2 siècles, dit-on, l'humanité a posé une seule question: comment exploiter la Terre? Aujourd'hui, une nouvelle question apparaît: comment vivre avec la Terre? Et peut-être que l'Afrique, qui a longtemps été considérée comme en retard, sera finalement l'un des laboratoires le plus importants de cette réponse. Voilà mesdames, mesdemoiselles et messieurs, le sens que j'ai voulu donner à mon sujet de ce jour. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup, honorable Didas. À présent, on peut passer la parole à honorable Franck Abineza. À vous la parole, Dr. Franck.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. I'm so happy. Sorry for that. I'm so happy to be here. Now I speak in French, and I'm happy for the President Kennedy's speech and he has explained well on the development of the protocol, but also thanks to Sharon for the women's law. For me, I'm going to focus on the democratization and implementation of the green ideology in Africa. And I will be sharing with examples, give you some examples from our country. Yeah. So, as you know, that democratization is part of the green ideology. And we cannot, of course, protect our environment if we don't have the freedom of speech and the freedom of expression. So it's very important that we also struggle to achieve democracy in our country as Greens. And for that, I'll give some examples. I will start with our friends in Egypt. The Egyptian Greens participated very well in the Arab Spring, and they ousted President Mubarak together with partners. And we're very happy for that success because Egyptian people had been under kind of colonial rule from one party, one president for a long time. And of course, as you are well aware, that our friends, the Green friends, also joined the parliament. And my friend, President Mohamed Awad, became a senator. We also visited him in the Egyptian Senate. And we're all very happy. I just want to say that the democratic process in Egypt went backwards. But at least they tried and they're still trying. And we hope that there will be more good news in the future. Also, if we go to Senegal, the Greens were part of a democratic process of joining together different political parties, and they joined the coalition with the Socialist Party, the oldest party in Senegal. And their candidate won elections in the second round. And our Green friends, you know him, President Ali Haidar, became a minister for fisheries and oceans. And that was a big success. And that actually happened when we had the third Global Greens Congress in Dakar, Senegal. So we were there as we were having our Global Congress, but also had the success stories going on. And I'm happy that I participated in one of their big meetings with President Macky Sall when he was still in opposition. Greens have been very active in Mauritius, fighting inequality, and which was caused by colonialism, especially with the slavery and the consequences of slavery by the black people, by the British to the black people. And the Greens were at the forefront of fighting that injustice and also called for the establishment of a green reparation fund. A reparation fund was later approved. And I know, I have seen, I was there, that our Green friends also participated in the hunger strike demanding for that justice. And it was tough for like 1 week people not eating in the hunger strike. But luckily enough, the government accepted that. They also joined the government, they became ministers and parliamentarians. Also, we Greens continue participating in the democratic process in Madagascar. And some of us went there. We had our African Green Congress, I think the third one in Madagascar. And later on, the Greens joined the forces with other progressive parties and also won seats in the parliament. And our friend President Alexis Joseph also became a Minister of Environment and were in parliament as others. So these are all success stories. Of course, I also come to Rwanda, my home country, where we started the democratic struggle in 2009, establishing the democratic part of Rwanda. It was very difficult. We were beaten. Some of our people went to exile. My vice president was assassinated, Andrew Kagame Kenyatta. May his soul rest in peace. I also went to Israel, to Sweden, but later on I was able to come back and were able to establish the party after 4 years. So these are some of the success stories. We participated in 2 elections, and 2018 we had the first opposition party entering parliament. We also went to elections in 2024. Also got to parliament. Right now I'm in the Senate. So these are some of the success stories that if we continue struggling for democracy, it is possible. Of course, don't forget your President Tembe in Congo, who has also successfully established a party under the circumstances. He was also Minister of Environment, also parliamentarian, and also they have biggest position in the local elections. Even though Congo has problems, but at least our groups there, they are very strong and very active. So I'm just giving some examples. We have other success stories in Mali, Burkina Faso, which is one of the success stories where the Greens was so active in having justice after the death of assassination of African hero Thomas Sankara. And President Samuel Drago became also a minister, and they also had the party had several ministers in the government, and also they were heading the Constitution Commission. And as you know now, Burkina Faso is hosting the headquarters of that federation. So because a big success story. So we have good success stories all over Africa, but the struggle continues because Africa still is faced with challenges with democracy. We have presidents who have stayed in power. We have presidents who have changed their constitution, and from 2 terms to unlimited terms, and we have opposition parties where they're being beaten, and sometimes also forced to exile, like in Uganda, and yeah, we still have challenges. So it's not that we have achieved; it's a continuous struggle. Even for the countries I've not mentioned, we still have war in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo and other parts of Congo. We still have war in Sudan, in South Sudan, genocide in Darfur, and of course, the struggle in Africa, in Cameroon, in Chad, it is still going on. So I encourage all Green parties to continue struggling for democracy, not to give up. It's not easy, but the right thing to do, because without democracy, we cannot really be able to protect our environment. It's a noble thing to do, and also a justifiable cause. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Frank. And I thank all presenters for the clear presentations. We have some questions, and you have people who ask to give comments. Monsieur Eric Ngegim, président du Parti vert de Cameroun. Si vous m'entendez, vous avez la parole. Vous avez le micro. Dans l'entretemps, those who presented, you can check in the chat some questions so that we can respond to some of them. But first of all, Eric, you have the floor. OK. Probablement qu'Eric n'est pas tout prêt. Dans l'entretemps, il y a des questions qui ont été posées dans le chat. Il y a Monsieur Mohamed Awad who asked the question. His question is to reflect if really Africa has learned about ecology, and if you have brought in your Africa to teach a community to change the way of doing. Bon, peut-être je peux passer la question je peux passer la question à l'honorable Pembe par rapport à la question posée si l'Afrique a réellement appris ou si l'Afrique a pu enseigner nos communautés sur la bonne conduite, comment s'y prendre par rapport à l'écologie politique. Si vous pouvez répondre un peu.
Vous m'entendez?
Oui.
Oui, bon. L'écologie politique, pour l'instant, ça demeure encore une notion qui est véhiculée par les dirigeants. Alors, progressivement, qu'est-ce qu'on fait? Les ONG ainsi que le gouvernement en place mettent des centres d'information, de réinsertion pour ceux-là qui ont été chassés, par exemple, des espaces de parcs nationaux. On tente de leur donner des compensations, quitte à avoir quelques chèvres, quitte à avoir quelques espaces, mais loin de nos parcs nationaux, pour qu'ils puissent continuer à mener une vie un peu meilleure qu'avant. Et aussi, il y a l'information des médias. Les médias sont là pour éduquer la population, mais aussi et surtout, nos pays africains qui, dans le passé, n'avaient pas de loi cadre sur l'environnement. Aujourd'hui, beaucoup de pays sont dotés de lois cadres sur l'environnement. Cette loi cadre détermine les limites entre l'être humain et la nature, ainsi que les sanctions et les préventions qui peuvent interagir entre ces deux concepts. Voilà un peu ce que je pourrais répondre à la dame qui a posé la question. Ah, je vous entends plus. Allô, allô?
Oui. Merci beaucoup, honorable Pembe.
Oui.
Bon, if you have questions, please put them on the questions and answers, please.
Anne-Marie, please, can you stay in one language, please? It's confusing the interpreters. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Je m'excuse, je vais rester en français. S'il y a des questions, vous pouvez les mettre dans la série, dans le chat, des questions et réponses. Comme ça, on va essayer de répondre. Je vois seulement quelques commentaires. Jason Wright a répondu qu'il y a un problème des communautés Batois, qui est une communauté indigène, qui eux aussi ont été forcés de quitter leur milieu ancestral, qu'ils devraient être autorisés à rester dans leur milieu ancestral, dans leur forêt, pour vivre avec les animaux, voilà, comme les gorillas. C'est une suggestion qu'elle a fait. Je ne vois pas d'autres questions qui viennent.
Bon, Madame la première vice-présidente, comme je vous l'ai annoncé, j'ai un avion à aller prendre. S'il y a des questions pour moi, je suis prête à répondre. Sinon, je vais vous demander l'autorisation que je puisse disposer.
Oui, merci beaucoup, honorable Pembe. Je pense que nous avons d'autres présentateurs qui pourront répondre. Nous avons aussi des responsables de l'écologie en Afrique qui pourront répondre.
Oui,
vous pouvez partir.
Néanmoins, Oui, néanmoins, je voudrais quand même apporter un peu de lumière par rapport à la préoccupation ou à la proposition que une personne a suggéré tout à l'heure concernant la, la population autochtone, c'est-à-dire les pygmées. Alors, il faudrait quand même que nous puissions sortir, je veux dire, de certains préjugés où on pense que les pygmées, c'est des êtres humains qui continuent à vivre à côté des gorilles. Ça, je ne peux pas l'accepter comme tel. Les pygmées, c'est une communauté de gens qui vivent dans les forêts, c'est vrai, mais qui, au fil du temps, évoluent avec la technologie, évoluent avec la science. Il ne faudrait pas que certains qui pensent, ils sont dans leur maison, ils pensent que cette population autochtone, c'est-à-dire les pygmées, demeurent comme des demi-hommes ou c'est des hommes qui vivent à côté des animaux. C'est un concept qui est tout à fait erroné. C'est vrai que cette communauté pygmée a une certaine connaissance nettement plus avancée que certains pour les herbes médicinales, pour certains secrets que cache la forêt, mais il ne faudrait pas les réduire à l'espace de vivre avec les animaux. C'est vrai que beaucoup de pygmées aujourd'hui sont des très grands intellectuels parce que ils sont sortis de leur milieu, d'autres sortent, d'autres veulent rester, mais cela ne veut pas dire que c'est une communauté qui sont soumis ou qui veulent tous, coûte que coûte, à rester dans la forêt. Il faudrait que les gens puissent chasser quelque part de ces préjugés-là ou de ces idées préconçues qu'ils ont.
Yeah. Thank you. I also like to add on something there. As President Tembe said, Ibatwa actually is one of the community groups we have in Rwanda, but also we share it with Uganda and Burundi. In Rwanda, the government took a decision of also ensuring that they don't stay in the forest anymore because they're human beings like everybody. So why should they be staying in the forest? They should come out of the forest and serve the people. Yes, they have their profession of pottery. They can continue doing the pottery outside. They have to go to schools like everybody. They have to live in good houses, not in those huts they used to stay in. So in Rwanda, they have been included in the society, and that will help them in the leadership of the country. Even the last mandate, we had one of them in the Senate. So it is we call now a community of the people who have been left behind, who have supposed to be grow quickly together with other populations. So it's not right that we should leave them staying animals because they are not animals, they're human beings. And also, we need to protect these animals anyway, because if they are there to kill the animals, then the animals will be finished. Because the animals have other elements, the poachers and so on. So the natural habitat of human beings is not forest. They have to come out in the natural habitat where we all live, in homesteads, and in our villages. We share the same thing. And even I'm sure that in Burundi, some of them are in parliament or in government. I think they really made them ministers. So it's just the right thing to do. So I know the case you have given is for Uganda, the forest in Uganda, but the right thing is that they should also come out, live a normal life, get the children go to school, and they be part and parcel of the life as everybody else. So that's my also contribution. Thank you.
Merci, Dr. Frank, pour ce complément. Il y a une autre question qui est venue, je crois, du Japon, qui dit qu'il paraît, on a vu dans le rapport de l'OIT, Office international pour le travail, que 90% des travailleurs africains travaillent dans des conditions qui mettent en danger leur vie. Il demande si c'est vrai. Je ne sais pas, vous pouvez tenter de répondre, Dr. Frank, sinon moi aussi je pourrais compléter.
Can you say it in English? Can you say it in English?
Il dit qu'il y a un rapport qui est sorti avec l'OIT qui dit que plus de 90% des travailleurs africains travaillent sous la chaleur qui risque de mettre en danger leur vie. Ils demandent si c'est vrai ou faux ce rapport, ce que le rapport a donné. Si c'est exact ou pas.
Well, I had asked that you mention it in English because I don't have translation here. Maybe that you can write things. If you can say it in English, then I would understand what you are trying to say.
Okay. I can also respond. I can try to respond, but the question is that the report from the International Labour Organization, he saw that 50% of African workers work under conditions of la chaleur that can put them in danger. He asked if it is exact, if it is true or not. Ce que je peux dire, ce que je peux répondre, d'abord, la question des travailleurs africains, je pense qu'il faut savoir que 90% justement des Africains, ou 80%, ce sont des agriculteurs qui travaillent dans les champs. Dans leur propre champ. Ce ne sont pas des gens qui travaillent pour être rémunérés. Et les conditions de vie, déjà, ne permettent pas qu'ils doivent être tellement dans de bonnes conditions. Mais aussi, ce que l'on doit savoir, c'est qu'en Afrique, bon, il y a certaines régions où la chaleur est énorme. À ce moment-là, les gens se couvrent. Ils ont leurs moyens de se protéger contre la chaleur, mais sinon, la plupart, ils travaillent à l'air libre, ils travaillent dans les champs, ils travaillent avec des métiers qui les exposent en l'air libre. Question d'être en danger par rapport à la chaleur, je pense que c'est peut-être trop dire. C'est la température à laquelle nous nous déplaçons. Et il n'y a pas moyen vraiment d'éviter de travailler dans ces conditions si on doit assurer leur survie. Je ne sais pas si, Franck, tu veux ajouter quelque chose, si tu as pu suivre.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I would say that it's true that some people work under difficult circumstances, and they also get paid salaries which are below what we call minimum wage. Because some countries, most of the African countries, do not have minimum wage, so we have problems of underemployment, whereby people who are educated, they get jobs which are not to their qualification, and they get a salary or wage which is not enough for survival. So people work under these circumstances, and in factories, we have a lot of Chinese investors, but they do not treat their workers very well. So we have had complaints from people working in the Chinese industry of mistreatment, and some of these reports have been reported to the labor inspectors. And actually, Rwanda even had to expel one of the Chinese people who are doing that. So I would say that it is tough, but we have laws in place to ensure that there will be proper treatment of workers. And but challenge remains with the economies of Africa. Our economies are still small because we have unemployment rate, especially for the young people, is quite high. You find that that's why most of the young Africans end up into criminal groups or armed rebellions, because some of them lack what to do, and bad politicians can easily take them away because of lack of what to do. So it's a challenge. So what we need is to create more job opportunities for the younger people, to ensure that they cannot go into bad activities or drug use or prostitution or something. And then also we need to ensure that the labor working conditions can be improved, and the government to enforce labor rules for fair treatment of workers, and ensure that we have minimum wage. Our party, the Democratic Party of Rwanda, has called for establishment of minimum wage in Rwanda. We've done that for almost now 10 years. It's not yet there. It's a challenge. So we still have to ask that as Green to ensure that our workers can have a good working environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup, Dr. Franck. Je remercie aussi tous les présentateurs et tous l'audience ici, le public qui nous a suivis. Je vous souhaite encore une fois un joyeux anniversaire de 25 ans. Je vais clôturer ma présentation ici. Et sinon, s'il y a des questions à poser, vous allez pouvoir, on pourra vous répondre plus tard par email pour pas d'autres voix. Merci beaucoup. À vous le micro, la coordination.
Thank you, Anne-Marie, for your moderation of the Africa Greens Federation. It was well done, and thank you to our speakers again, Pembe, Sharon, and Frank. Your words were well received by everyone, and your discussion with people who had questions for you. We will now go